Good morning, brothers. We're happy to be here. At the beginning of the year, it's been difficult to be with everyone, but I'm here now, thank to God. Because in November, we start again the meetings at the church. I'm really happy to see you and to know you're being used by the Spirit. Thank you for taking a time to be with us, to help your church grow and be a healthy church. Thank you to be here and taking the time to check some important things to be a leader in your church. We got a lot of people that took this workshop because we have a lot of important things and we need to get to other people so they can know it's a really important workshop that we have here. We need this workshop to be a success in the area, in the region. We got a lot of leaders at region level, at district level, and we need them to know what we talk about in this workshop. And we need this information to go to our local churches, to our local districts, and we need to form our leaders in this information. I'm going to talk about this for 1 hour, and I wanted to change the perspective of the way that we talk about it. Around 10 people I have known have died because they didn't care to care of these issues that I'm going to talk about. We talk about the value of the soul, our health, and we need to be really careful and look out after our health. You need to look out for yourself and think about yourself. I want to encourage you to take a look at your health and still remember that your bones and all, and that your body, your physical body, is a important part of your ministry. So we have to take care of our health. And we have to take everything that God has put on our hands. And we usually forget about our body health in the daily and in the church. We're going to get to the presentation. I want to talk to you about your leader's holistic health, the physical health. Years before, in the 20s, somebody made a definition about health. and it has stuck with us so we can focus on our age. The basic definition of health is a state of a complete physical, mental, and social well-being, and not just the absence of a disease or disease. The thing is, when we think about health, we only think about it when we have a headache, a stomach ache, or when we think about something that hurts us, that doesn't feel right in our body. But before something ache, it has to be something wrong with us long way before that. So I wanted to tell you that the health is a complete physical, mental, and social well-being. It's not just not being sick. We have to look that the sickness or disease, we have to really be careful about it. We have to take care of ourselves. We need to know that sometimes we have to get through process, but we have to look out after what those processes come with us. We have to be careful of our minds, the story we believe. We have to be careful about what we socially contexts are in, not just in the social way, in a cultural way, but also in our family, in our little groups. I've heard stories about parents that they told me like their child is sick, but after checked her, she looked fine. But the parents insisted that she was sick. And I look at a Guatemalan doctor that just laughed at me, and this person come to me and he told me that they have this belief that when a pig go in front of the child, it happens that the child is sick. And we have to be really aware of our cultural context, not just our body. We also have to be aware of the steps we take. We are guardians of our body, and sometimes we don't look after it. Sometimes we work a lot and we don't rest. And sometimes we think that if we can do everything that we won't be successful. And we get frustrated when we can't do those things. And we do not rest our bodies. The ministries, we usually don't think about taking vacation, just resting, sleeping 8 hours, just taking a few gallons of water a day. maybe 8 glasses, maybe 6 glasses of water. It's good. And I just last night was reading about we have to take 1 liter of water every 10 minutes. But at the end of the day, it's important that we know that we have a body that is real important to take care of it. So we can do the work. We're heard always that we have to take exams to know that we are okay with our body. We need to learn how to know that our body is really well, it's healthy. We need to learn and understand that we are exposed to a responsibility to be a good administrator of our body health. Also, our spiritual health, it's really important and sometimes we don't think about it. The spirit wants to have a relationship and communicate with you. So can we have a really good relationship? We can do it through Bible reading, through our worship, or prayings, where we can say to God how amazing He is, but we have to take care of it, not just doing yoga, not just through this mystical, spiritual exercise. We need to take care of it in a way that we can learn our strengths in our spirit so we can know how to do our labor, the labor that God has given to us. So we can have a connection with God's Spirit, that it's the one that teaches and leads us. We have something that is called influence in our local community. And we have noticed after pandemics, a lot of people has been affected. And not only have them been affected, but also their family. I know some of our families has been affected, not only our bodies because of the sickness, and some people I have met have gotten COVID, and a lot of them has left the church because we as people, as humans, get the possibility to get sick. And if we're not careful, we can get affections, we can get infections. We can be really careful about vaccines. We have heard a lot about healthy, about Clorox, about face mask. And I wanted to tell you that these basic things that we do, like taking vacations, like going to worship in a daily basis, like reading the scriptures, like praying, like having our mind really connected to God, made us to be growing in what God wants us to be. Everything is in the same field. We can just separate it. Some some physical health risk factors. We're gonna talk about it, and it's real important. The physical health. Still, we're not only just a spirit. We're affected by some factors. People used to live a lot less years in times before, and now we have a lot of people that live a lot longer years thanks to over government's help. In another times, people live just 60 years, maybe kids, if they get sick, 10 years. But right now, we have a lot of people that lives up to 80 years. Now, we have some risk factors about our physical health. Now, more than ever, we have a lot of socioeconomical challenges. One of the things that has affected people the most are the finances. Some people lost their jobs. Some people got less hours to work to. Just being by our home, not being able to go out. In my country, I stayed almost 2 years in my house, not being able to go out because of COVID. And it was a really, really close and close. And the government has has fines for people that went out if you didn't have the right permit. Just some people with specific jobs has were able to go out during pandemics, but it was difficult for a lot of people to be just in confinement. But right now we have a lot of liberty going out. If we want to go out right now, we can do it. If we're gonna go out in the night, we can do it. But our body, our minds weren't prepared to that kind of confinement. People got depressed. People got disease. People got stressed, and because of that, we got a lot of people that got sick about financial issues. You don't know, but us Christian, we're expert in celebrating, and our celebrations are always like right now that we don't drink, we don't smoke, we don't do anything that people usually do. We always do this kind of parties because I always used to do it. So our celebrations are only just do it to have the best food, the most delicious food we have. We always bring typical food dishes of or city or districts or countries. That's our Christian Paris. And everyone wants to take a little bit of everything. And sometimes it's the same people, the same food that we have at home. But when other people cook it, always seems so good, and always Christian people wants and take a bite, and a little bit of that, and a little bit of everything. And in our culture, if we don't try at least a little bite of what your brother is offering to you, we're just gonna think like, oh, it's so bad. Why is he like that? Why is being he's being so rude? And everyone wants to be gentle, wants to be good with people, so we take everything that people offer us, especially in Christian parties when they offer food. And our foods. And I'm not trying to criticize anyone, but it's our foods are 80% not really good for our health. My country with rice, chicken, mac and cheese, and this amount of tortillas. Some people eat corn tortillas. So we see a lot of culturally factors that affect us in our daily life, like part of our culture and especially part of our church that can affect us directly of our health. Our body is starting to react to every situation. Now more than ever, we have two diseases. Long ago was veins hurt, but right now, one disease is blood pressure and diabetes. We have right now a lot of people that has developed some diabetes, some really young people that might not have diabetes, but they are developing. And I'm trying to include everyone, not just only one age, but every age. And sometimes we as a people, we don't look after those things. But the daily influence, it's real important, especially in what we eat or how we do. We have some risk factors like cultural, like I said, but every day more than ever, we see people being displaced from their local cities. It looks like a trend, displace people to other countries, to other cities. A lot of times we don't look after that. Just being confronted, face a new culture, or just talk about some language different. But imagine, some people are trying to flee to another country because they have political issues, economic issues, war issues, And now, when they flee, they are facing many problems like speaking a new language, not just Spanish, not just English, some other different language. Where culturally, maybe a smile is good, physical touch is good. Maybe your country, your cultural context isn't like that, and it's everything new to you. And some people might develop issues because of this new cultural environment. And sometimes we look after these people and we think, oh, he looks good. But maybe in the inside, he's not feeling really good and is developing a disease, a sickness we don't see. Because just being displaced, have to flee their country, it's really affecting people. There's a lot of other risk factors that we have to look after. And these challenges may not seem right to us. But because these risk factors are in our daily lives, we don't look after them. They are part of our context. The changes in our context are really affecting us in ways we don't imagine. Right now, we are living the most heat wave we have ever had in almost 40 years. I have seen in some places that there's a lot of heat even when it's raining. I have seen droughts. I have seen a lot of people do not get electricity because they have drought. We have a lot of people that are getting a lot of rain. I have seen people being in floods, and everything gets to our physical health. And we have seen people, we have heard people said that they have problems because maybe they tell you something like, "Oh, my head hurts because I didn't have something to cover my head because it was raining. My knee hurts because I didn't put on this cream at night." But a lot of these issues, a lot of these problems are just contextual. And we have a lot of these problems. Sometimes they don't get like a scientific explanation because they are just contextual. It's part of our context. And because they are part of our context, sometimes they get part of our reality, even though we don't have a real medical explanation. We got to identify the risk factor in our ministry, in our diet, in our rest and exercise, but we have to identify also the things that can help us do better. We have heard a lot of people that every 1st of January, a lot of people made a decision, the important one. This year, I'm gonna stop eating so much. This year, I'm gonna eat healthy. Every one of us has made that kind of goals. And it can affect us not only physical, but also mentally. I had a problem with my triglycerides. I lost around 20 kilos in a month. Because the doctor told me if I didn't do it, I was gonna get sick. I was so sad about it. Because while I was eating, just some fruits, some vegetables, a lot of people that didn't have a lot of flavor. My family that was just sitting around me were eating salmon, were eating savory foods that I couldn't eat. Also the rest. Some people say, oh, the rest is only for people that doesn't work anymore. But rest is something that God wants us to do. Some of us sleep a little bit at night and we wake up really early at morning. But us Christians, we fear exercise. And I know a lot of you do a lot of exercise, but I know a lot of us fear the exercise because sometimes implies discipline, implies being strict with yourself. During pandemics, I used to do a lot of exercise through Zoom, and some people didn't realize they were being watched by others. And sometimes in our Zoom meetings, people were just laying in bed reading the Bible. And they didn't realize they were being watched by other people. I want to tell you something. There is an indicator. This is not the number one indicator. I'm just want to show you this. This is the easiest one. This is a really easy tool to tell us how are we about our health. And this is a tool that we can use to see the relation between our our height, and our weight. We divide our height in kilos, divided in your height multiplied by your height. For example, my height is 1.94 meters. Multiply 1.94 meters divided in my weight. And you can see if you are overweight, you're normal, underweight, or it maybe you have some issue with your weight. Sometimes we don't want to do this little mathematic operation. Just don't be alarmed if you are over 25. It just means that you have more fats in your body than your body needs it to survive. This is not a number one necessity tool we have, but it helps us discover our relationship between our height and our weight. The weight is in kilos and the height is in meters. Somebody want to tell us how many kilos do you weigh? Somebody want to tell me how much do you weigh? I weigh myself every Monday and Friday. Gregory is gonna help us to do example. Somebody has calculated this. I weigh 87 kilos and my height is 1.80 meters. No tengo calculador. 180 meters multiplied by 180 meters is it's going to be 87 divided by 27. 26.8. I congratulate you, my brother. I congratulate you. You're starting to be in our group or overweight group. Starting 26 is starting to be. It doesn't mean you're really overweight. It just means you have to stay in that. I congratulate you, my brother. Just don't freak out because you're 26. It's okay. If somebody has a question, I wanted to answer it right now. If somebody has a question, does nobody have any question? Your weight in kilos, it's gonna be divided by your height multiplied by your own height in meters. Weight is in kilos, height is in meters. And if you're more than 50 years old, I'm gonna ask you to do it. We're only 15 minutes left. I wanted you to understand something. Do not get carried away about what people say. If you hear someone say, "Oh, I have a friend, a pastor that says this," but if those pastors doesn't have really a degree in nutrition, in medical health, then do not get carried away with their comments. You need to get professional help because we needed to do a really competent ministerial work. This is my tip to you. I once was seated in front of a superintendent that I looked at him and he looked really, really bad at health. And a brother told me, like, Pastor, you need to talk with him because he doesn't believe in going to a medical health. And 3 weeks later, he died. But right now, we have a lot of pastors that have a career in the medical health field. We need to look after them. We need to go with them for some guidance, professional guidance. Once a year, we have to get physical exams and laboratory tests. And some people really doesn't like this, but it's necessary. A few years ago, my family and I live in Costa Rica, and I felt this heat in all of my body, and I thought, oh, my blood. And I took my own blood pressure, and it was right, it was good. And I went to this doctor, and he did every physical exam and a laboratory test, and he made me some laboratory tests. And I took a laboratory test about my physical effort where I was connected to a machine and I looked like a really professional athlete. And I did the laboratory test and it was so hard. I felt like was I was going to fall. It was really hard for my health because I'm really not used to that kind of exercise. It was like 3 years to me. And then after that, the doctor told me, you have nothing. You're good. And I told him, then why did you leave me so long in that machine? And he told me, like, you were there only 7 minutes. We need to be respectful with ourselves, with our family, with God, and go and do once a year physical exams and laboratory tests. Some people fear vaccines or injections, but it's necessary. We gotta do a realistic plan. We gotta develop a realistic plan. Because if we don't do it, we're gonna be at the same point we started. The weight reduction diet. Maybe in the that tool we took a few moments ago made you realize you need to reduction your weight, you need to lose a little bit of weight, and you gotta take it seriously. Sleep 8 hours sleep. We need to stop looking at phone that so much. We need to stop looking at our TikTok, at our WhatsApp so much. We need to sleep at least 8 hours. There is a lot of beauty sleeps that took 10 hours, 12 hours. But at least I tell you, sleep 8 hours. Drink water. The latest studies said that if you have to take 1 gallon a day in little sips. But I'm gonna tell you, drink as long as you feel good. So you don't flood, you don't feel like bad. Now, our psych health. Our psych health sometimes is so influenced by stuff around us, like stress. We have Moses that had a lot of responsibilities. And we have all this story in Exodus 28. We have here the story of Ananias over work and concerns for others. God is asking you to use a person that really worships Him. God is telling you, love your neighbor, but also love you. Our word of the day is fear. We're people that are full with fear. One of the greatest prophets for God that has done a lot of things for God through him, a woman made him feel fear. God has to take care of him, feed him. A lot of times we have fear with our local church. Sometimes we fear our pastor. We fear what other peoples do, what other missionaries peoples do. We have a lot of fears and fears and fears. And then we get to be people that just fear everything, even our shadows. What is trend right now? Something that get us even worse than COVID is mental exhaustion. We have heard a lot of the burned out people, people that think I'm not useful, I can do anything, and I can do as much as before. I feel worn out because sometimes people overwork in the ministry to other people, to their network. Now more than ever, I've seen ministries that are rejecting, are worn out, are burnout because of that overwork. Spiritual health. God has commanded us to love ourselves and also others in a selfish and unconditional love. And we can read it in John. But we also have been commanded to God to love Him with everything we have and everything we are. We need to focus. The first one, to up. You have to know what your relationship with God is like. And I'm going to ask you to go to Daniel's book. We have the recipe in Daniel, what is have to have a healthy relationship with God. And it's going to help you through anything. But it's also going to tell you that you have to make some actions to get better at your relationship with God. So you can, having a good relationship with God can help you know what to do best with you and your network. We have to be humble with yourself before God, not self-centered, and sometimes it's really hard for us. Being humble, humiliate ourselves is sometimes hard for us. It's a really strong word. Pray without ceasing. Please do not stop talking with God. Talking with God, you have to do it in a daily basis. I do not ask you to close your eyes while you are driving. You can talk with God without having your eyes closed. But you have to keep a close relationship with God. Value life. And this is so important. Not seeing us as useless. Seeing us as useless or worthless are just a lie from the devil. God chose us. God saved us. God filled us with their grace, with His Spirit. We have all have worth. And we are young to carry what God's one commands us to do. What the enemy wants is making and imagine that it's not right with us. The devil exists, even though you don't believe it. So the devil came to kill us, to destroy us, to make us feel worthless. We always compare ourselves, and not only ourselves, but also the people around us. Comparing our children to other children, or parents to other parents. Then you need to pray not to be your children, not to be your model or what you think they have to be, but what God's want them to be. But we have to have a good relationship with God. Why? Because that makes us have a better self-esteem. They make us being more active. Having a good relationship with God makes our lives better, make us less stressed. We're at the end. Now, this is not a recipe. This is just tips so you can have an holistic health. If somebody has a question, this is the time you can ask. We have 10 minutes, so we can have any questions. You can write it in our chat. Or you can raise your hand so you can be heard. Thank you so much for this workshop. Everything is true, and sometimes we have to be careful about it, us as the pastors. Something I wanted to add, is that some pastors sometimes don't get really well with the losses. And sometimes we have this idea that the pastor doesn't have to cry, doesn't have to be upset about something, about the loss. And I think that it's really important for us to look after it. Part of the district, part of our local churches, to look after our pastors' mental health, especially about losses. Because these losses sometimes means a crisis, a faith crisis, and we have to look after them in the right way, in the right focus. And as a district, as a field, we have to really look forward to having a time to take care of them. And from the ministry and our personal life, it's a really important issue. Thank you. God bless you. Thank you, Obdulia. It's nice to see you. The concept of losses is a sensation about losing the control about something. I'm not gonna say I'm a specialist about human loss because maybe some other psychologists can talk about it. But this issue about losses, we can talk about it in many, many sessions. But it's really about not having the control. About the control is actually part of God. And I have nothing to do with it. God has the control, and it doesn't mean you are not gonna have crises. You are not gonna go through fire. But this issue about losses is not about our control, but God's control. He has the control. He's the one that led us. He's the one that guided us, then took us and take care of us. And we have constant losses, material losses, ministerial losses. In the airplane, when the pilot says, we're gonna turn the lights off as long as the sound hits and the airplane starts to move, a lot of people start to feel stressed when there's a lot of turbulence. Because, of course, you don't have the control of the airplane. And a lot of people get stressed by that. And it's kind of what happens when we have a loss in our ministerial. But as I said, we have to get help. We need to get professional help. But I suggest you to look for someone that is not as related to you, not as close to you. Any other question? If not, God bless you. I hope you have an excellent day today. And I hope you to tomorrow you get to the house of God and have a really good time, to good blessed time. So you can be a good administrators to your body as God intended to be. We don't want to say goodbye till yet. We want you to fill this form and please fill it. It's just 5 little questions. And if you have any tips to improve these kind of sessions, please tell us. We really want to hear you. We really want to listen to you and read you. We're going to leave it like 5 minutes so you can feel it. And in the part of the reactions of the Zoom, can you applaud them so we can have a little applause to our Pastor Carlos? We have the 10th session on October, so you can watch the ad while you fill the form. Thank you and God bless you.